Yo, what is going on, guys? Johnny GB here, bringing you guys our draft analysis for the Pokemon Global Battling League, or the Battle League. Pokemon Global Battle League, brand new Wi-Fi league. I am joining for Season 2, actually. I got asked by Randy HLD, coach of the Texas Rangers, to be a part of this league. I will leave all the channels down below for you guys. You guys can go check out all the coaches in the PGBL. And this is a league where the draft format was a little bit different, but something similar to what I have done. So what we did is we drafted one tier 1, I believe 2 tier 2s, 2 tier 3s, 2 tier 4s, 2, 4, 6, a mega 8, and then 2 free spots. And you had 200 and I think 200 points for those free spots. So no tier 5s were mandatory to draft. You only had 2 free spots, so I mean, you really had to think out where to use your free points, what megas to draft to give you more free points. So it was actually pretty challenging to think of. And some interesting things about the league. Naga Andel was placed in tier 1. Unfortunately, I was not able to get that. That went first pick overall. But some other interesting stuff like Tapu Lele was allowed. I believe Hoopa was allowed as well. Not 100% sure on that one. But all in all, I'm actually very happy with the team we drafted now. I did have the 5th overall pick, so I was going to get something good. Unfortunately, Lele went the pick before me. I wanted to use Lele, but we ended up drafting Landorus Therian. Now, Landorus Therian, I've used one other time in the PGL, and I did not use it very effectively. This was when Sun and Moon first came out. It was actually the first Sun and Moon Wi-Fi league I was a part of. And I just didn't use it to the potential it should have been. Now, over the last course of, I think, 7, 8 months since I've been in the PGL, my play has gotten a little bit better. If you guys have seen by my ICBA seasons, I've played a lot better since the PGL. And I feel like Landorus Therian is a good mon to have on the team. It does get access to Stealth Rocks, gets access to Knockoff, Defog, so nice utility moves there. Defog being that new move tutor move. Will it be brought often? Probably not, but I mean, it's a good building block for your team because, one, you get a nice powerful ground type. You get a setup sweeper, does get access to rock polish. It's a fantastic Z move user and will be one of our 2 Z captains this season. So it will get access to a lot of Z moves, and quite frankly, I mean, yes, it's base 105 special attack, but I mean, it does have a good tech for special moves. I mean, you can slap hidden powers on like basic techs, or you get access to stuff like Sludge Wave to help out versus some things that may want to switch in, some grass types that may want to switch into it. And just with the Z moves, you get access to Fly Z Lando, very good Landorus. You get access to Continental Crush, Tectonic Rage, 2 other very powerful Z moves as well. So Landorus is just that good cornerstone to build my team around. And you can just find a lot of stuff that you can pair with Landorus. Access to Intimidate's great, makes it a little bit bulkier than it actually is. I was actually a little underwhelmed when I saw the base 90 defense, but I mean, it's still a very good defense stat to have. Now, going on to our 2nd round pick. It's a Pokemon that I've wanted to use, and it is Mega Gallade. So the reason I said I was a little underwhelmed with the Landorus base 90 defense is I was a little surprised to see Gallade at base 95 defense. But 165 attack, very good wall breaker, and gets great access to a bunch of different moves. Its stabs are powerful with fighting and a psychic typing. Gets access to stuff like Drain Punch, Close Combat, Zen Headbutt. You also get access to some priority moves in Shadow Sneak as well. Does get access to 2 different forms of setup, being Bulk Up and Sword Stance, so it can set up. It also gets knockoff, so bulky psychic types are somewhat of a switch in, but with access to knockoff, it's a much safer option, I want to say, than Mega Metachamp. This is the first time I'm going to be using Mega Gallade. I'm very excited to use Mega Gallade because I've seen it used very well, and it's very easy to build with. So grabbing Landorus Therian and Mega Gallade right away, first 2 picks. I have 2 Mons that if I'm struggling to come up with a set, there's always easy ways to build with those 2 Pokemon. Base 110 speed, so it's good speed tier because now we're just tying with regular Latios, Latios, Gengar are all in that 110 speed category. So it's a good one to have. Outspeeds all the base 100s. I don't need to put max speed investment to outspeed those as well. Going on to our 3rd round pick, we have Mimikyu. Now, Mimikyu is a Pokemon I've wanted to use in leagues for so long, has a great ability with Disguise, a decent typing offensively with Fairy and Ghost, and Mimikyu is our 2nd Z Captain, and Mimikyu can set up easily with its ability Disguise. You can set up Swords Dances, gets access to things like Bulk Up as well. So Mimikyu is just that very kind of late game type of Mon that I can use to clean up games. I don't think anything resists Ghost and Fairy in the game. I think it hits almost everything for at least neutral. Unless, probably Meloetta. I mean, it still hits Meloetta neutral with the Fairy typing, so Mimikyu is a very good addition to the team. It's a Pokemon that I've wanted to use. I know my team is looking pretty physically offensive, but I wanted to grab just a bunch of Mons that I haven't used. Other things Mimikyu does get access to, stuff like Will-O-Wisp, as most Ghost types do. Also gets access to Play Rough, Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak. So it has very limited move pool, but effective. Is what we're going with Mimikyu here is you know what it's going to bring moveset wise. It's just trying to game plan around how not to get swept by a Mimikyu. On our 4th round pick, another Pokemon I've been wanting to use in League, just never had the opportunity to do so, and that is Arcanine. Now, I took Arcanine because it's a pretty decent fire type with reliable recovery. That's hard to find as a fire type with reliable recovery, does get access to Morning Sun for recovery, also gets access to extreme speed for priority, which is always nice to have, gets access to a bunch of different support moves such as Will-O-Wisp, but can also be run specially. Offensive, not going to be used much. It was one of my ideas for a Z user because it does get access to stuff like Bloom Doom and Wild Charge to help out versus the water types that switch in. But I felt like Mimikyu and Landorus would actually be a better option for me as those Z users. But all in all, I mean, Arcanine gets the ability Intimidate, so now I have the double Intimidate going with Landorus and Arcanine to pretty much just help some of my more frail Mons against my opponent's physically offensive teams. And with Intimidate, it just becomes a little bit more bulky. And with the recovery, it just becomes a little bit more annoying. It's a very good balanced Pokemon. That's what I wanted to go with. It's just Pokemon that can be very easy to use. Very easy for me to have fun with. And that's so far what I've drafted is something I'm going to have a ton of fun with. Next up, we have Milotic, one of the only Pokemon that I drafted that I've used previously in draft format. A very good bulky water type. Flame Orb Milotic is a very common set just because of the burn nerf. Instead of taking 12% from burn, you're now taking 6%. Access to recover just makes Milotic a very bulky Pokemon. Base 125 special defense, great. Defense at base 79 is okay, but with now the Marvel scale burn, you're taking a lot more hits. And base 100 special attack, while it's not overwhelming, it's still passable. It does get access to stuff like Haze, Recover, Dragon Tail as nice tech moves for it. So to prevent setup sweepers from going against Milotic, you have Haze and Dragon Tail to phase them out or lower their or just reset their stats, which is fantastic. And then access to Scald, Ice Beam as stab, Ice Beam not a stab, but Scald as stab move and Ice Beam as well. It can catch people off guard, and base 81 speed still puts it in a nice speed tier. My speed tiers are not extremely low. They're relatively close together. And going on to our 6th round pick, a Mon that I did not want to draft, but ended up having to anyway. Was really looking to get Alolan Muck here because I love using Alolan Muck. Is Umbreon. I needed some bulk on the team, and Umbreon actually fits this team a little bit better than Alolan Muck because I now get Wish Passing ability, which is fantastic for Landorus or Gallade if I need recovery on those. It's decently bulky, can take hits. That's pretty much all it's there for. Synchronized great ability if people try to Toxic it. I do have Heal Bell, and I can Toxic their Pokemon while they're at it. But all in all, it's just some added bulk to the team. Right now I have Arcanine, Milotic as the quote-unquote bulk on the team, but Umbreon just adds to that bulk. Gives me a Wish Passer, gives me a Cleric role on the team, which with a lot of physical attackers that can get hit with a Will-O-Wisp, having that Cleric is actually not bad to have for this season. All right, this is probably the biggest steal of the draft for me. So the PGBL had Crobat in Tier 4, and it was a Pokemon I knew I had to grab. Tier 4 Crobat is an absolute steal. Base 130 speed, great speed tier to have. Access to defog, so I was really weak on the hazard removal, especially with me having an Arcanine that loves to switch into stuff. So I did not have the best removal at this point, but grabbing Tier 4 Crobat was an absolute steal for me. Also gets access to stuff like Taunt and Super Fang to break down some of the bulkier threats on my opponent's team. Just all in all, it was a great pick for me. I'm pleased that I was able to grab Crobat this late in the draft, especially at Tier 4. I feel like it was just a bargain for it. Milotic was also Tier 3. That was the other steal I had. They were just Pokemon that I normally see them a tier or two higher from where they're at. Milotic, most of the time I see it in Tier 2, so it was just like, got to snatch that Tier 3 immediately. But Crobat, I think I've used it in the PMC, and it's a decent Pokemon. It's not overly bulky, but can switch into stuff that I need it to. Having a reliable defogger on the team now is fantastic, as Landorus, while it does get defog, isn't the most reliable defogger I have on the team. Next up, I need an electric type. I needed something for Volt Turn because I have Crobat for U-Turn. I have Landorus with U-Turn. So I needed something to have that Volt Turn in there. I love having electric type on the draft. And the only one that really fit the team at this point was Manectric. It's okay, actually, because it does get access to the move Switcheroo, so you do have some shenanigans with Switcheroo for crippling an opponent's Pokemon with either Flame Orb or Toxic Orb, something along those lines. It's not overly powerful. Base 105 special attack is not going to break down many Pokemon. Its move pool is not very deep at all, but it still serves the purpose of having that electric type on the team. And base 105 speed, it's okay. It outspeeds the base 100s. It's not overly bulky, but it does give me an electric immunity onto the team now. Another one, that is, as I do have Landorus. But Lightning Rod just gives me a second electric immunity to the squad. All right, so now we're getting into the free picks here. And the first free pick I went with was Metagross. I needed a steel type. I needed something to really just switch into fairies and dragons because don't really have a good fairy switch in. I do have Arcanine, and I don't have a dragon switch in much at all. So Arcanine, Metagross does give me that fairy or dragon switch in, and it's some nice physical bulk. I do have Umbreon, but that's base 110 defense. Arcanine's base 80 with Intimidate, so I don't have that physically bulky Mon. Now I do with Metagross. Does get access to Stealth Rock, so that gives me my second Stealth Rock user, which I did need on the team. I only had Landorus for Stealth Rocks, but Metagross now gives me a second Rocker. Also gives me more priority in Bullet Punch, and gives me some type of switch in to Tapu Lele, which is going to be needed at one point in this season, maybe even multiple times this season, is a reliable switch into Tapu Lele. And with the Wish passing ability of Umbreon, I can keep Metagross somewhat healthy as well. But the issue is my team is very physically offensive based, which can pose to be a potential problem later on this season. But all in all, I mean, I'm very actually happy of drafting Metagross. I've seen it used very well. It does get access to stuff like Magnet Rise, Rock Polish, or I think it actually even gets a Totemize as well. So it does have some setup speed options. Base 135 attack is no joke. It will hit hard. It does have very good coverage moves with Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, gets Meteor Mash, and Zen Headbutt as stabs, gets Earthquake. So it has a very good move pool to be an offensive threat, but it can also be that bulky threat. 80, 130, 90 is no joke when it comes to bulk, especially when I'm trying to switch into stuff. It also can use a bunch of different items. It's not going to be locked into a berry or some type of attack boosting item. It does get access to stuff like Assault Vest because it does have a wide move pool to run for attacks. I'm not forced into running Stealth Rocks every week. If I want to bring Assault Vest, I can bring Assault Vest because I do have coverage on Mega Metagross, whether it's 4 attacks, Assault Vest, whether it's Stealth Rock 3 attack, whether it's potential setup sweeper. There's a lot that Metagross can do, and it's probably top 3 of the Pokemon I'm actually really excited to use, probably behind Mega Gallade and Mimikyu this season. And then finally, we are ending the draft with a Pokemon I've used very well and I enjoy using, Roserade. Now, I needed some special attacking on this team. Milotic is not cutting it. Manectric is no threat really as a special attacker. So I needed one that could actually prove to be beneficial to the team, and that is Roserade. Getting 2 very good abilities with Natural Cure and Technician help out some of its weaker moves, such as its hidden powers, doing a little bit more damage, or a lot more damage really in that case, and stuff like Giga Drain that also do get the boost from Technician. Natural Cure if it's ever status poisoned, or can't be poisoned. If it's ever burned, paralyzed, I can switch it out, and now we're fully healed. And it's also a very good specially defensive mon. Surprisingly, Roserade can be a very bulky mon somehow, just because of its typing. Its move pool's decent. It does get 2 powerful stabs. You get Leaf Storm, you get Sludge Bomb. So it can hit hard offensively. It can be somewhat specially bulky, which is nice. And it also is a spike stacker. So now I do get access to Toxic Spikes, and Stealth Rock, so I have all the hazards available on my team. The unfortunate part of it is I do not have a Rapid Spinner. So if I do end up having to set up hazards in games, it's going to be in games in which either my opponent has poor hazard setup or my opponent has really just no hazard removal, and I'm not too worried about switching in on Stealth Rocks that much, because I mean I only have Arcanine and Crobat that are weak to Stealth Rocks. Everything else takes neutral. Metagross and Landorus. Actually, Metagross is the only one that actually resists Stealth Rocks. So it's an interesting draft. It's something that doesn't seem like a type of draft I would have, but it's one that I know I'm going to definitely have fun with. I'm actually just going with that mentality this season. Is I'm just going to go have fun, kick back, and enjoy playing Pokemon, because it's something that I've struggled with the last couple times. I've been real focused on trying to win the leagues. Now, ICBA I did have fun, but this one I am looking to have just flat out blast with a bunch of good coaches and not really stress over how I'm performing. Just want to make sure I'm having a great time actually playing the games. So you guys will be seeing this on Saturday the 16th. My week 1 battle should be up next Saturday the 23rd. Kind of a Christmas battle. But if you guys enjoyed this draft recap and you guys are excited to see how we do this season, tune back into the channel. Check back on Twitter. Go follow the PGBL on Twitter. Go subscribe to all the coaches. I will try to leave their links down below in the description. But with all that being said, guys, I am Johnny GB, and I'm out.